Some Steelers fans say it's not his best game ever, but I felt like that was the best performance I've ever seen from Najee Harris. He had not one, not two, but three absolutely ridiculous runs.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Monster Monday, bright and early on a Monday morning. Nice to actually be home here on a Monday morning after traveling the last 3 weeks on Mondays to call Monday Night Football on Westwood One, although I will miss having a chance to call Monday Night Football tonight in the radio. Love doing that, but I also love getting a chance to go to my daughter's volleyball games and then watch the game at home and maybe even drink some Labatt Blue Light. Love some Labatt Blue Light. In fact, why don't I just say this right now? I'm going to drink some Labatt Blue Lights tonight while I'm watching Monday Night Football. It's not going to be with friends. Might be with a couple of family members. Either way, I'm living life to the power of we, or at least the power of me. Always enjoy responsibly beer. Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. It is a new week. We are presented by DraftKings. I do have winners. I want to make sure I get to all the games, though, so we can get to the winners later on the show if we have time. But as promised, I did come up with the Spread the Word winner, the sponsor confirmation email winner, and the YouTube shout-out winner for last week, since I forgot on Friday. Love those of you, by the way, that rate and review the show. You know the deal on Mondays. My overarching themes from the Sunday that was in the NFL, then the things I really took away from each of the games. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, Ross. Well, as you just mentioned, what are your overall themes from Week 6 across the NFL?
Well, I think, first of all, a lot of quarterback situations, right? As you look around the league, you know, we've got young guys playing for the first time for the Saints and the Patriots, both of whom I would say I thought acquitted themselves well. I really did. Now, Spencer Rattler was better in the first half than he was in the second half when Todd Bowles heated him up a little bit. And I'm really looking forward to talking with Greg Cosell on Thursday as he'll do a deep dive on the tape for both these guys. But, you know, I think the Saints situation of kind of skipping over Haener with Rattler was interesting. But I do think Rattler showed why with some of his nice throws, and he ran around a little bit. Drake May, he threw more touchdown passes, I think. Jack, you probably have the stat, in one game than Jacoby Brissett had the whole season so far. I mean, Drake May, not afraid to step into it and deliver the football. But there's other quarterback situations too. You know, like how about that Titans-Colts game where the Titans said, okay, he's healthy, we're going with Will Levis. And Will Levis had a customary really bad, I mean, when he throws interception, he really throws interception. I mean, they are bad, really bad. And now his receivers are getting all frustrated. Calvin Ridley went on like a expletive-laden, profanity-laden tirade after the game. That's starting to be an ugly situation now for the Titans. I mean, hey, Calvin, you went there because you wanted the most money and you wanted to stay in the South. I don't know, whatever. And then the Colts, they kind of went the opposite way, I feel like, of the Titans. They said, well, we'll let Anthony Richardson have a little bit more. And Flacco didn't have like a huge game. That wasn't the biggest reason why the Colts won. And he did throw a pick, but they won. You know, they won anyway. Even the Steelers have a little bit of a, you know, quarterback situation because it was the first time Russell Wilson was the backup. It's the first time Russell Wilson was a play away. And if that game had gone the other way, I would not have been surprised at all if they would have put Russell Wilson in there for Justin Fields. It's not like they lit it up. It's not like the Steelers had over 300 yards of offense even. But Fields did enough with his legs. Najee Harris had a big game. We'll get to that. So anyway, just a lot of quarterback situations, it feels like, around the NFL. The other things that jumped out, speaking of quarterbacks, by the way, That's 2 games in a row where Caleb Williams has looked pretty darn good. We'll see. Obviously, the Carolina Panthers defense and the Jaguars defense might be the two worst in the NFL. I mean, they're certainly two of the worst in the NFL. And so that is, sort of the caveat there with Caleb Williams. But he played really well. And, the ball placement was the ball placement. The way he played was the way he played. He played very, very, very well. Some other things that just jumped out. How about a couple different injury news? Jim Harbaugh going in the blue tent, then going into the locker room with, as he said afterwards, the atrial fibrillation. I know people that have had that. That's a scary deal, man. That's a scary thing when your heart is acting any way other than normal, right? Any type of fluttering or his heart was racing and I saw what they said about the heartbeat's not good. The other big things, I guess, both have to do with the Lions, Jack. I mean, first of all, David Montgomery got a new deal Saturday night. So well deserved. It is rare for a running back to get a new deal with 2 years left. That shows you how much he means to that team and how much Dan Campbell and the organization loves him. But then to lose Aiden Hutchinson, that hurt. And I'm not talking physically. I'm talking about me emotionally. You can see his leg snap. It's an awful injury. It's never, ever pleasant to see those things happen to guys because it's not natural, right? You're getting like maimed. And I saw where Pro Football Doc, Dr. Chow, SportsInjuryCentral.com, he was SixScore.com. They were pretty clear right away. Fractured tibia and fibula. He's still in Dallas, emergency surgery. First and foremost, hope it heals correctly and he's okay. But I'd also say that that's a huge loss for the Lions. I mean, that might be a Super Bowl difference-making loss for them, unfortunately. The last thing, and maybe I only noticed this, Jack, just because of the Even Money Betting podcast, but these teams down 10 kicking field goals to make it a one-score game, and then the onside kick, that's the right move to try to win the game. But hey, fellas, some of us host a betting podcast, and we need you to get a touchdown. We need you to get a backdoor cover on these. It's funny, I don't remember that, though. I don't remember that like 10 years ago in those situations down 10. Teams like, okay, we're close enough for a field goal, kick it. I just don't remember that happening as much as it happens now. Anyway, those are my big takeaways. Let's get into the games. Actually, before I get to those games, I want to make sure you guys take advantage of the most ridiculous deal I think I've ever heard of. It's from my friends at westshorehome.com/Ross, a listener-owned business. I think they have over 40 locations, which means, yes, they probably have a location near where you are. 72 months, 0% interest with up to $1,500 off. That is insane. They're like your private bank. No interest until 2030. Think about having a 0% plan and a discount. People usually have one or the other, not both. That's 2 presidents from now is when you have to start to make the payment. Ridiculous. Get the remodeling project you've always dreamed of, all while realizing 0% interest for 6 full years. westshorehome.com/Ross, westshorehome.com/Ross. I love football. I love tailgating. I love that you guys get to tailgate a lot more than I do with Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka and an official vodka partner of the NFL. It's an experience that is best enjoyed together. How about this? Smirnoff is giving fans in select areas of the country a chance to win the ultimate game day experience. Tickets, sideline passes, much more. Head to WeDoGameDays.com until November 15th. WeDoGameDays.com. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. No purchase necessary. 21 plus. ends 11/15/24. See rules at website for participating area and other important details. Sponsored by Diageo Americas Incorporated, New York, New York.
Well, as you mentioned, the Caleb Williams era in Chicago is off to a hot start. The Bears, they moved to 4-2 with a 35-16 win in London.
Right. And listen, they have not played a tough schedule. But guess what? That's their schedule. It's the NFL. They don't have any control over that. And to be 4-2 after these 6 games is impressive. And guess what? Their defense comes to play every week, which is wild because the Jags actually moved the ball down the field. Jags got off to a good start. They were kind of getting Evan Ingram involved. Gabe Davis even got involved a little bit. That was about it. And they settled for a field goal, by the way. That was about it. That was the Bears defense settled in after that. The Jags couldn't really do much of anything. And then for the Bears, Cole Kmet had a couple touchdowns. They got Keenan Allen involved. We mentioned Caleb Williams. Feels like there's going to be change in Jacksonville at some point, either during the year or after the year. It's getting ugly there, and it feels like, unfortunately, they need to reset something unless they turn this around, which I would submit to you is unlikely.
Baltimore gets the win, but Washington, they definitely proved their worth. Baltimore, they win 30-23.
Yeah, Washington, one of those late field goal teams when they were down 10. All we really needed was a touchdown there, Coach Quinn. Anyway, how about the first half by Zay Flowers? What was that? And then I don't think he had a catch in the second half. Like, when's the last time that happened, Mr. Stat Guy, where a guy has 9 catches over 100 yards in the first half and nothing in the second half? You know, the Commanders really had no answer for Lamar Jackson and this Ravens offense. It's the point now where I don't know if people are getting enough attention, but Lamar Jackson is playing at MVP level. He really is. I mean, he is playing absolutely awesome. I thought Jaden Daniels was good. Yeah, I mean, especially since Washington could not run the ball at all. Brian Robinson was out. Washington couldn't run the ball at all. So to still put up 23 points and move it like that, I would say was encouraging for Jaden Daniels, even in the loss.
So to answer your question, Zay Flowers' 9 catches are the most by any Ravens wide receiver in the first half ever, or any half, that is. And then we'll move to the next game. Green Bay, they dominated Arizona from the jump, 34-13.
Yeah, that wasn't even close to my question. My question was, when's the last time a guy had that many catches and yards in the first half and nothing in the second half? Nice try, though. As for Green Bay, we said last week, Jack, I didn't know. The question for the Cardinals was whether or not their win over the Niners was like a one-off or would spur them on to bigger things. Looks like it was a one-off. I mean, they were down 24-0 in this game. Jordan Love, I thought, was awesome again. How about them getting Romeo rolling on Dubs? I know it's Dobbs. The squeaky wheels. Get it? Dubs, squeaky wheel. They got him involved with a couple of touchdowns. The Cardinals didn't really give themselves much of a chance with the penalties and then the injuries. Marvin Harrison Jr. My favorite is when the guy's clearly concussed and is like falling over, and they're like, I think he has a concussion. I don't think we'll see it. What was your first clue there? The fact that the guy stumbled and fell to the ground? I mean, of course he's not coming back in the game. He better not come back in the game. That would be horrible. The Packers defense, by the way, an absolute turnover machine. The Cardinals made it a game. It was like 24-13. I thought, okay, maybe we'll have a game here. Nope. Under Hafley, their new D coordinator, they've gotten so many more turnovers.
Drake May had what I think is the most rookie quarterback debut of all time. Texans, they get the win 41-21.
What do you mean by that?
Like, it's just he had the big flashy plays. He looked exciting, but he had rookie turnovers and they lost. That just feels like the quintessential rookie quarterback debut.
Well, guess what? They lost by 20, and I'm guessing right now Patriots fans are basically thrilled. Like, so happy. Because I thought he looked good. I thought it looked like the right decision to play him. They actually scored 21 points. And if the defense came to play, they would have had a chance to win the game. But no. First of all, the offensive line is bad. I mean, they got guys playing I've never heard of at center and left tackle in the NFL. I've never heard of them. And they're starting. Or not starting, but they're at least playing center and left tackle. Danielle Hunter was everywhere. Will Anderson was almost the 11 Oaks hungriest player with his 3 sacks. And it's so interesting to me how much of a difference maker Joe Mixon is for the Texans. I thought a couple years ago that Joe Mixon was done when he was in Cincinnati. That guy's found like the fountain of youth.
NFC South is the new home of offensive shootouts. Tampa Bay, they throttled the Saints in the second half, 44-27.
Well, and let's start with this. For them to score that many points, wait, what did you say the score was?
I had 44-27.
It was
Or
51-27.
51-27.
Jack, you don't have many jobs. Like, you got to get the score right. What would exactly you say it is that you do here? You get the score right. That's what you do. At any rate, the Bucs offensive line, O-line of the week, presented by Campbell's Chunky, soup that eats like a meal. You put up a 50 burger. You have 2 running backs that a lot of people don't even know about, and Sean Tucker and Bucky Irving run all over the opponent. You have Baker Mayfield throwing the ball over the place. They got Gedeke back at right tackle. It makes a big difference. A lot of people were talking about how the Bucs offensive line needed to be better. Well, they stepped up. That was an awesome performance by the Bucs O-line. That's why they're the Campbell's Chunky O-line of the week. Other than that, I thought Spencer Rattler did some good things. It's funny because there was a lot of swing plays in this game, right? The Antoine Winfield Jr. when Tyke Smith, who just has the feel of that kind of guy. Tyke Smith is that kind of guy, like a Tyrann Mathieu type that just finds a way to be around the ball and make plays. He had a pick. He had the punch out on Olave, who left the game. He got rocked. Shaheed had the big play. Rattler did some good things, but ultimately it wasn't enough.
Eagles, they do enough offensively to beat the Browns at home, 20-16.
That was an ugly game. I mean, first of all, in the first half, it is like painful to watch the Browns offense. No matter who you care about or root for or want to win or whatever, first of all, some of the sacks that Watson takes, some of the open receivers where it's like he throws it too hard. They couldn't convert a third down to save their life in the first half. They were much better in the second half. Watson was actually in rhythm a little bit. They converted several third downs. His legs were a factor. They gave themselves a chance. I mean, the biggest thing that gave them a chance was the Myles Garrett blocked field goal that Rodney McLeod returned for a touchdown to tie it up at the end of the first half. The Eagles were about to go up by 2 scores. Instead, it was tied at halftime. For the Eagles, not an overly impressive performance. Their defense, I thought, did the job for the most part. And then on offense, it showed how good it is that Devontae Smith and especially A.J. Brown back. A.J. Brown is a difference-making player in terms of whether it's a win or a loss, which is why he gets paid as much as he does.
Joe Flacco, he leads the Colts to a close win over the Titans, 2017.
And he only had a few catches, but Michael Pittman, last week, early in the week, there are reports that Michael Pittman is going to be going on IR with a back injury. Then it's like, oh, he might play. Then he's catching total jump ball touchdowns from Flacco in the end zone. And then he made another clutch catch, which was huge. And the Colts won a second game in a row, or no, Colts won and moved the ball, even though they didn't have Jonathan Taylor again. For the Titans, I already talked about it. Levis had a rough interception. It's pretty clear He's not playing as well as the wide receivers want him to. They're getting frustrated. Things are kind of getting ugly in Tennessee too. You know, when things are getting ugly, when you only have one win, like the Jags, the Titans, the Browns, this is when it really gets tough to see whether or not these teams stay the course or make a big change.
Chargers, they beat Denver in a game surrounded by injuries, 23-16.
Well, you're right. It started weird with the Jim Harbaugh atrial fibrillation. And it's like Jim Harbaugh just went in the blue tent. Jim Harbaugh just went in the locker room. Didn't seem to have much of an impact on the Chargers, though. You know, I don't think anybody was thinking with the Broncos' pass defense being so good that the Chargers would come out throwing the ball. But that's exactly what they did. Maybe that was the genius of it. Certainly, when the Broncos lost Patrick Surtain, that helped a lot. Like, a lot. He's the best cornerback in football. But especially on third down, Herbert was absolutely money on third down the entire game. Felt like a big step back, I would say, for Bo Nix and the Browns offense. I mean, at one point it was, 23-0? I mean, I was very surprised by that game. Now, give them credit. The Broncos kept battling. Bo Nix kept running around. He's definitely even more mobile. I mean, I knew he could run from the Auburn and Oregon days, but he's even more mobile than I thought. So that's a nice factor. And Courtland Sutton had the awesome touchdown catch, but it was kind of too little too late.
Pittsburgh, they get a convincing win on the road over the Raiders, 32-13.
And the two biggest reasons why, T.J. Watt and Najee Harris. Actually, either one of them could be the 11 Oaks hungriest performance of the week, but I'll go with Najee Harris. 11 Oaks, by the way, genuine Wagyu beef, Angus beef, heritage breed pork, free-range chicken, all locally raised here in Central PA, but available nationwide online. If you are here in Central PA, you can shop in person like I did at the farm store. I'll probably have a post on Facebook this week about it, facebook.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Family-owned business, which I love, like my wife's family-owned business. 11oaksfarms.com, 11oaksfarms.com. Some Steelers fans say it's not his best game ever, but I felt like that was the best performance I've ever seen from Najee Harris. He had not one, not two, but three absolutely ridiculous runs. And to me, it's like, it feels like this is the guy we kind of thought he always could be. He showed burst. He was running people over. He was finishing runs. He was running like a Steelers running back should run. That was awesome from Najee Harris. Other than that, Jack, the other parts of the game, I mean, T.J. Watt, not one but two punch-outs that were just incredible. The Raiders actually had a nice opening drive with Aiden O'Connell for a touchdown, and then that was just about it. The Steelers still aren't really clicking on all cylinders on offense, but Justin Fields' legs, a big part of the win.
Atlanta, they fulfill your prophecy, Ross. They beat Carolina by double digits, 38-20.
How about that? Two of the favorites that I took on the Even Money podcast, the Bucks and the Falcons both came through, and I think the Falcons, they were my lock of the week, right?
I don't recall if they were your lock. I mean, I had to be.
No,
I mean,
the Eagles. The Eagles are my larceny lock of the week. At any rate, Carolina's defense is as bad as advertised. I mean, they're bad. They are bad on defense. I love, people criticized Arthur Smith so much for giving touches to Tyler Algier. Guess what? Tyler Algier is awesome. Tyler Algier is a freaking sledgehammer. I love him. Andy Dalton, I mean, this is how every Panthers game is going to go now, like 38-20, because Andy Dalton does some good things, but then he has a costly pick, and it's not enough. The good news for Carolina is they're definitely running the ball better, which gives them a chance. They got to try to possess it more, keep their defense off the field.
Worst birthday gift you could possibly get. Dallas, they suffer their worst home loss in Jerry Jones' tenure on his birthday, 47-9.
Talked about the Aiden Hutchinson injury, just awful. I talk about these guys, just those type of guys, like a Tyrann Mathieu. Like maybe they're undersized, but they're always around the ball. That's Brian Branch for the Lions. That guy is awesome. I mean, awesome. What a second-round pick. And then for the Lions, their offense is a machine. That was incredible. That looked like a Super Bowl caliber team. And how about Ben Johnson had like 4 or 5 different trick plays for offensive linemen. That was hilarious.
And the Bengals, they get a much-needed win in prime time, 17-7 over the Giants.
What an ugly game. And the Giants had to do it without Kayvon Thibodeau, Devin Singletary, Malik Neighbors, and you could tell. I mean, it was 7-0, I think, for a long time. Joe Burrow had that almost 50-yard touchdown run early in the game. I tweeted at Ross Tucker NFL that I really didn't know he had that in him. That was impressive because he saw the defense. His awareness is just special. Meanwhile, Daniel Jones, like the interception he threw down near the goal line, Greg Joseph, the kicker for the Giants, misses 2 field goals in the fourth quarter, and then the Bengals get a late touchdown after the throw to Yossi for what proves to be the final margin, 17-7. The Giants' defense is the real deal. Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, they were everywhere. But as Brian Daboll said after the game, you can't win games in the NFL when you only score 7 points. I mean, you need to score more than 7 points. You also need to do the little things to be a winner. How about Steve Rudemeyer? He made a comment on TikTok, the @RossTuckerNFL TikTok. Email me, Steve, ross@rosstucker.com. I'll send you one of these press passes. Then we've got Ron Stritzinger. He used the Game Time code, the Game Time app, to get tickets to a Pink concert in Detroit this week. I love it, Ron. You're a winner. And then Matthew McKenzie made a cool comment on YouTube, youtube.com/RossTuckerNFL. You're all winners. You all need to email me, ross@rosstucker.com. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. You guys know how much I love me some myfrontpagestory.com. Anniversaries, birthdays, whatever. Backofficeschedule.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sporticulture, Pizza Boy Brewing.